Thank you very much for joining, everyone. It's great to see you all here. Great to see you, Dee. Great to see you, Sophie. Grab yourselves a glass of water, cup of tea, coffees, whatever you need, and we will be starting in the next few seconds. This is a recorded session today. Thank you very much for joining. Here we are once again on our series of weekly events. So great to see you all again after the short break. Feel free to drop your name into the chat window and where you are from, if you want to. Just remember, this is a recorded session today, so let's all respect each other. Feel free to come off mute if you want to chat, which you can do by voice or by message. It's your preference. Slightly different today. It's always a safe learning zone here. We're always talking about new technologies and how they can be used to help us. But we're very excited today to be welcoming a special speaker to this particular talk on AI in HR, and that is Jolanta Moniewska, an ex-Amazon business value-driven leader with a passion for HR process excellence and AI-driven systems. And what I would like to say here is Jolanta's been with us on this journey of establishing very strong foundations for ourselves. You may have seen there at the start that I crossed HR out and put people in, because humans aren't resources, they are people. But yeah, we all know what that term means and we all recognize it. But more importantly, Jolanta's put in the foundations for us using AI as the basis of everything that she's been doing. And for those of us that work in this sector, then you'll know that you have to juggle many different things as a leader in this space, operational leaders in this space. And it's not unusual for people to be seeing 100-to-1 ratios between experts like Jolanta, who take on everything around these functions and organizations. So really, really pleased to welcome you today, Jolanta, and I look forward to the questions that we've got lined up.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. So we've got a few questions which have come through, actually. Some of them come through from people that we know, and some are based on your own personal experience. I think what I'd really like to understand and get your take on it really is how you've incorporated AI into your HR approach, especially as a solo HR professional, and how Copilot has really enabled and empowered you to support you in your role.
Thank you, Gareth. That's a very good question. So for myself, as you mentioned, as the sole HR person in the business, I wear a lot of hats. So working smarter is actually the key. One of the biggest challenges has always been the administrative burden, drafting documents, responding to repeated queries, managing recruitment tasks, writing job description, and in general, keeping up with the internal communication. It can easily take over the day. So this is exactly where Copilot has made a huge difference for myself. For example, when I need to write new HR policy or document, I would ask Copilot to give for myself a first draft, and it would give me in literally a few minutes. It's like having an extra pair of hands that can take on those repetitive but also time-consuming tasks. So it allowed me actually to focus on the area that I really feel like they need the human attention, putting the effort into supporting people, shaping culture, and planning for a growth.
So really, really interesting. Thank you. Thank you for that. And I mean, this is such a fast-moving area now. There's it's almost there's new things there on a weekly basis, whether they're apps on our phones or someone who shared the latest prompt with us. And I know that Microsoft actually have got a lot of good materials in this particular area per business function for adoption, because these things require a people-centered approach as well as a technology approach. And I think what really the audience would really value is to understand your perspective on what areas that you think within people functions that they're still utilizing AI, and why.
Yeah, that's another very good question. So in my opinion, I do believe the area that's still underutilizing AI is employee engagement and experience. We collect feedback through surveys or daily check-ins or weekly, but often we don't have a time or even a tool to really analyze that data in a meaningful and ongoing way. This is where AI could actually take over and help us discover pattern, flag any emerging concerns or issue, or hopefully even suggest some tailored action before the issues would escalate. Another area which I personally would love to have AI more involved is a performance management. I do believe it still has a room to grow. Use it to detect trend, reduce bias in reviews, and also provide more the data-driven insight for the managers to actually perform them on a higher level or just better.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm sort of sat here reflecting on conversations that I've had with various different businesses over the years, and certainly those people functions, they've always aspired to become less transactional and more strategy led. And having an analytics team, it's quite a costly investment for some people. And I think some of the things that you mentioned there around the analysis and artificial intelligence of Copilot being able to leverage these insights, perhaps this is making things accessible to these functions that we have necessarily had before. We all knew that they were important, but without those visual analytics and the ways of bringing those insights together, I guess that makes it a little bit more challenging. Would you say?
Totally, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And we can all, as I said at the start of this, there's almost like a weekly basis now. There's a new app out there. How would you say that we ensure that AI tools are aligned, stay aligned with our company's tone, culture, and values?
To ensure that AI tools like Copilot, which we are using on a daily basis, are in alignment with company tones, value, or core, starts with the clear guidelines. For example, as we did in Lightrise Consulting, we did set up specific rules and the language with a tone among with the type of the messages, which are reflecting company core values and also culture. Either it's a friendly tone, either it's a professional or more approachable. These guidelines act as a foundation for any AI-generated content. I also make sure whenever I have the generated content, I do review it and tweak in a way that reflects actually the right tone. While Copilot does amazing and a quick job of generating content, I always go over it and add that personal touch. just to make sure it aligns with our cultural nuances and with our language.
Yeah, I think that's a really good tip actually for everyone. We can all go do this on our favorite agents, but really bringing that organizational sort of spin or that institutional culture to it, and the way that you've said that you approach it there is quite key, I think, in making these types of tools a real success. Would you care to share any of your favorite prompts with us?
The last which we've been using is rewrite to the words of 100 using a professional tone, making in a it's a little bit long one, but I want to make sure always we're actually referring to our core value, and I'm using humility, humanity, respect, and integrity. And to be honest, as you mentioned, you can make your agent, your co-pilot, which we are using, kind of work for you. So if you're gonna continue and you're gonna build the narrative, it will actually reflect exactly what you are saying. So whenever I'm saying use our language or use my language, it will know exactly what kind of a language it should prompt. If I'm missing some personal touch, I would just add some core value we are driving towards the end, and would just actually reflect what we want.
That's really interesting, and I'm sort of sat here now, and I know some of the things that you've been working on. What's your perspective on using that type of thing and that language, and how can it really help us overcome some of the biases in writing job descriptions and things like that?
It actually can attract the people who are in alignment with the core value we are having. So writing, for example, job description, you just don't want to go with a generic neutral tone, because at the end of the day, of the other side is a human being. And these days I notice of the candidates, they just don't go with the salary only. They wanna have the impact of the company. They wanna feel at the same values at the end. So giving the additional value, giving the cultural nuances you are having in your company, adding to the job description, is actually attracting the right people. So you can quickly narrow who is matching to the job description, and you can finalize the sourcing of the talent much quicker.
Yeah, I think that's something that's really, really quite strong. I think adds a lot of value to an organization. And I've seen professional agencies in my career provide copywriting around this in the past, which is absolutely amazing. But the costs can become prohibitive for people to provide that level of professionalism. So really having the ability to do that ourselves is something that means that a real accelerator, I think, for small businesses, to make sure that they have that professional image, and they're targeting the people they want to bring in to their organizations based on their languages and all the things that you just said.
100%, especially in a remote setting. There is no border limit. So obviously the amount of the request or interest you would have is significantly higher than you would actually hire under a specific location. So you really need to act smart in a way to scan them through if they're actually matching your company values, and they would keep the legacy.
Yeah, yeah. And I think just what you were saying, actually, I've seen some use case scenarios that go one step further. And I know there's been tools like this that have existed for some time, but they scrape like the resumes or the curriculum vitae, and they just bring all those in. And I've seen tools which now take all of those documents and bring them straight into your recruitment solutions. They're not measuring, but they're doing, you know, a lot of the heavy lifting for you, because once you've got them all in a database, it's a lot easier to look through than clicking and opening each one. But yeah, I've certainly heard of some interesting cases. I think it's on a call actually with Microsoft a couple of weeks ago, and it was an open call, and they were discussing some recruitment practices and how you can bring in some of this information. And there were some experiments where people have actually started to take some of these measurements from AI tools, but run them in parallel to their internal scoring processes. Now, the AI is trained on looking for things. So, you know, look through this text, and here's an example of what strong looks like, and then it goes off and makes some measurement. But they were running that in parallel with their manual processes to see if there was any significant deviation. And I think that's really stuck out to me as a really strong approach, where we can start to embrace, you know, some of the acceleration, I guess, around moving away from this transactional nature of administration, but in a sensible, guided way, where we're comparing that to our existing processes and making sure that it isn't going off and doing biased things and all of that. So that was an interesting approach, and certainly something which I think that others could probably take away from. Out of all of these things that are happening, let's say on a regular basis now, you know, have you spotted anything recently which really excites you around what's happening in this space with recruitment or other parts of other parts that HR/people functions typically deliver?
So definitely, like nowadays, using AI, it give you advantage in general in the HR space. Like you mentioned, the recruitment and an ethical part is something which is actually kind of a risk. So what I spotted, what not really excites me, is the risk which is associated with AI. Definitely something we need to take on board. We cannot fully rely on the AI or not too much, because it can sometimes lead, especially when we think about the recruitment, on the type of decision that are not fully unfair. Especially, for example, when I'm using the AI for a document creation, I need to have in my mind that there is plenty of low changes in between, which AI, my Copilot might not be fully aware. Therefore, I need to do my research and do make this personal touch, make the human interaction as well. So I do believe, in general, AI is exciting tool, but what excites me more, it will never replace the HR professional itself, because as much as it can help us, it will never replace us. And it's all about just finding the right balance between the technology and the human side of the HR.
Yeah, and I think this is a real opportunity for those professionals in people functions actually to embrace this change to some respect, which, you know, people functions are at the forefront of legal changes on a continual basis, change policies, procedures, everything else. So having something like this to make our lives a little bit easier is probably a good thing, but it goes down to the usage of it. And like always, we as people professionals have to do the similar sorts of things that we've had to do in the past, which is to review our policies every time there's a change. Are things AI appropriate, I guess? and work out how we integrate these things into the cultures of organizations.
That's that.
That's great. Well, I really, really appreciate it. Has anyone from the audience today got any questions that they would like to ask us? I'll try and field a couple here if you've got any. No worries if not.
We can
Hi
take
there.
them.
Yes, I do. Sorry, it's Dee here. I do. I'm a HRIS analyst, and I'm particularly interested in how how Amazon were using AI to integrate within their HRIS systems, not just in terms of their ATS systems, but their people systems, holding people data. And if that had
Yeah, I would love to give you some of the insight, but unfortunately, I left the business in 2023, and we were nowhere near of using AI at that time. What they currently do, I know they did create some internal artificial intelligence, and they are utilizing nowadays. But I have no insight for that, so unfortunately, I cannot help you. But I would assume that it's exactly the way we are doing. They would not only use for the customer service, they would use for the day-to-day automation of the task, documentation, and so on, probably just, at the larger scale.
Okay. Has anyone got any insight as to how AI is being used within HRIS systems at the moment?
Amazon or
No, not just Amazon, just in general, industry-wide.
some Microsoft have got a really good adoption framework actually, and we can probably find the link here and put it into the chat window. But it takes you through various different scenarios on how you can use Copilot, which is Microsoft's solution in this. So they're similar to like ChatGPT or Perplexity from Google, where they've got a free entry-level product which you can ask questions on and do certain things with. But then there's a whole variety of other scenarios. So you could build out an automation for probation, for example, by asking Copilot a question in the Power or Automate area, or use some of the AI-enabled functionality within their proprietary HR software, which is Dynamics. And there's a variety of use case scenarios. I don't know whether let's just get the link and I'll share this with you.
Thank you. That would be helpful.
Are you using it in any particular way?
No, so I'm freelance, and I've seen that a lot of companies at the moment are integrating a chatbot function within their HRIS systems. Because obviously, it is going to answering the mundane questions. How do I get a P45, etc., that kind of thing. So I've seen a lot of that. But I would just be interested to see how else it's being used and, trying to just keep abreast with the changes and trends.
Absolutely. Well, check out this area here, I would recommend. Let me just see if, can you see that on my screen?
Yeah.
So the link's in the chat window as well, but this has got all sorts of scenarios which you can go through, not just for people functions, finance, customer service, etc. You can have a go as well. You can have a go at building your own agents out, and there are hackathons and things like that which you can sign up to. But it's really easy to build one of those chatbot agents, and you don't need any programming abilities for this. It's all sort of natural language, and you can just build out questions. So one thing that you could do with a Copilot agent, you could, for example, in the UK, point it to the ACAS website. Just check out ACAS, because a lot of the good practices there, or CIPD, those sorts of things. You have to be careful in terms of copyright, etc. But it can use websites or SharePoint repositories as information sources to enable it to provide responses. So there's some really easy ways to build those agents nowadays. And if you maybe had like thousands of employees where there's a lot of first line support transactions, you could use one of those, and it might take away some of the heavy lifting for the the standard questions that you get coming through on a day-to-day basis, and then perhaps triage it to a person where it's needed. And you can do all of that within some of their customer support scenarios. But you see here, we've got all sorts of things here around how we can use Copilot through different elements of the worker lifecycle. Some really nice little presentations here as well, which gives you a sort of day in the life feel for people that are using some of these tools. So that's pretty cool too.
That's very helpful. Thank you. Another question, we've spoken about Copilot quite a bit. Are there any other AI tools apart from Copilot that are being used currently?
So my views on this are going to be slightly biased because Microsoft is where I spend most of my time as a supplier. But there are other AI tools there, and I can't endorse any of these because I've not used them in earnest. But there's things like Cintra AI, for example. There's Google Perplexity, there's ChatGPT-4, there's DALL-E. There's lots and lots of language models out there. There's HeyGen. There's different tools. HeyGen will create video, so maybe for like learning management systems where you could speed up video creation, that sort of thing. But what I'd encourage you to do, as with all of these tools from a business point of view, is just think about it from an information management perspective. Who owns the data? There's something I'm telling my son all the time. Who are you giving your information at to? I mean, it seems innocuous, but just ticking a box, you could be giving over, certain things from a business perspective, which you wouldn't necessarily want to do. So just be careful, really, and just undertake your due diligence. And if nothing else, just read those terms and conditions, I would say, and see what fits your business.
Thank you. That's really helpful. Thank you.
Great questions. Thanks for the engagement. Anything else from anyone? No. Well, here, just to give you a flavour of what else we've got in here, and from a people perspective, let's face it, we do provide customer service. So you may want to check out, what you can do there, calls, service quality scores. These are things which, as internal functions, they apply to all of us, really, as well as external. We've got these industry scenarios as well down the left-hand side. So if you're a not-profit, or maybe you're in healthcare, manufacturing, you can drill into those, and it's a very rich and freely accessible area of information. So check it out. But as I say, other tools are available out there as well. So find what fits your business, and think about the applications. But certainly this will give you a guide as well.
Sorry, I have another question, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
From a reporting aspect, does anyone have any insight as to how AI is being used in terms of reporting people data within their organizations or just generally?
So again, I'm going to provide you a Microsoft perspective on it, but there's some interesting tools which are underutilized as part of M365. things like Viva will provide you with insights across your workforce. And they can be very useful because it will give you some sort of an indication as to whether people are burning themselves out, working all hours and all sorts of things like that. But Microsoft have got a rich area around BI. You know, there's other tools out there again, ClickView, Tableau, you know, but talk primarily around Power BI, which is one of the leaders in the Gartner sort of magic quadrant thing. And what you've got happening in this area is Microsoft bringing those tools, those cloud tools together and providing you with the ability to ask natural language questions with things like Fabric and create your own dashboard. So if you're sat on a whole bunch of data, then you can, you know, bring that data into one of these tools and start to engage with it in ways that you haven't been able to before. So there are all sorts of entry points on that journey, and lots here that I haven't talked about as well. But yeah, I think if I was going to point you to anything, I'd really point you towards Power BI. There's some templates there. You can start to use some of that content to bring your spreadsheets to life, essentially. And even if we start to layer in, you know, again, there's add-ons that you can buy from the App Store and things to layer them into Excel. You know, maybe you want to move that way as well, but you can certainly use Copilot embedded in Excel, and that will, again, give you that natural language prompt. You can ask it questions, it will come up on a sidebar and gives you another way to engage, you know, and there's probably, you know, so there's different stepping stones on the journey, depending on where you are as a business, as a culture, and as an individual.
Okay, thank you very much. That was great.
You're welcome. Any other questions? No. Okay. Thanks, Sophie. Then that is around about the end of today's session. It's been great to spend time with you, as always. This is a weekly series of events. Please feel free to sign up. We also publish these on our YouTube channel, so you can catch up with those. You can get links. But yeah, feel free to browse, to take a look through previous videos, tips and tricks, and everything else. We always like to leave these sessions by providing you with something that's going to add value. We've provided positive impact donations, which is you know, what we've done in the past. But here is a link to a free personalized modern workforce score. It will go through a series of 39 questions. It will give you a personalized report, which will give you a broader sense around your organization and its readiness for things like Copilot, but more importantly, all of the things which go with it that we need to be considerate of, like cybersecurity, you know, empowerment, enablement, all of those things are wrapped up in there. So hopefully you find some value in that. But as always, thank you very much for your time. It's been great to see you all, and I look forward to speaking to you again in the future. And thank you to Jolanta for her time today and sharing our expertise with us all on the call. Thank you very much, Jolanta. It's been great to have you here, and I look forward, hopefully, to welcoming you once again to one of these calls in the future, where we can continue to evolve these conversations.
Great chat, Gareth. It was a pleasure to share some perspective, and I'm looking forward to another one. Have a great day, rest of you.
Thanks a lot. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.